Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Ricky Royal, this is Box Delights, and we're playing John Company's second edition. I already did a series for you, but we did the 1710 scenario. I want to show you 1813 now. 1813 introduces deregulation right from turn one, private firms, that extra dimension to the game that lots of people have been requesting. So this should be a tutorial for how firms work, how to run a private firm, how to take John Company's second edition to that next level of complexity. Just before we get going, I do want to point out a few setup things. So in terms of laws, I mean, you'll follow this card. Every scenario has its own setup card. All right. In terms of rules, deregulation is in effect. So you're going to take this law. It's not a regular law. It doesn't have the same back, right? This is always outside the deck. So deregulation is already passed. And that means we have the debtor's prison side face up. We'll explain all this once we get going, because I also want to show you what private firms are all about. Why do we have private firms? What benefits do they have? What are the risks of a private firm? And so on as well. There's also another law called Calico Acts. You ignore all the text here because this says skip after deregulation. But this basically gives you an opportunity to buy extra workshops. So we'll keep that one up and out. We've got military oversight. This law is in effect. When military affairs acts, the Prime Minister can demote a commander and promote a commander. We actually saw this in my 1710 playthrough. And then there's another rule called Governor General. So Director of Trade is out. We'll put him back in the box. Governor General is in. Now what that means is, if you remember, Director of Trade had a couple of things that they could do. They can transfer ships and writers, and also they can open an order in a region not controlled by the company. The Governor General, in contrast, can't move stuff around. They can't move ships, they can't move writers, and they can't open orders. But what the Governor General can do is raise extra money for the company. All right? They act like a conglomerate of governors. If you remember, governors had the administer action where they can tax, create new regiments, and create company ships. The Governor General can do the same, but it's in a single role, okay, a single office, not multiple, not 8 different offices, just one office. Okay, but they're going to bring a lot of income to the company, and also they offer a great opportunity in the solo game to exchange lots of promises with the crown. All right, we'll see that as well. So Director of Trade was really useful at opening orders and transferring stuff. Governor General can't do that. And to that effect, we take this overlay, Governor General, and we place it over the Director of Trade like this. Okay, so it really does change up the dynamics of how do you open orders? Well, you have to use the military, you have to use the deploy action. And when you place your ships and your writers, you know that's where they're staying. So that's Governor General, we'll look out for that. And I mentioned this one already, but Superintendent of Trade in China is also an open office. And we're going to start that one over here in play. What I like to do for setup, and this is a little tip, is place their cards in their respective office places. This makes the setting up just a little bit easier. All right, so there they all are. There's all of John Company ready to go. The other thing I want to point out, company debt starts at 0. Company standing starts at the £10 point where the S is. The turn tracker starts here at turn 5 where it says 1813. Okay, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's going to end. So we're going to go all the way up to the end of turn 8, assuming the company survives. Do remember to give your company £5. That's their starting balance. Don't forget that whenever you set up whichever scenario, £5, okay? Also, in the Court of Directors, it's normally +1, -1 victory point for shares. We've got the +2, -2 overlay. Make sure you put that one in as well. And then the loot tokens. At the start of this scenario, 3 of the regions of India, and they're on this map on the reverse, and it's the 3 home regions, Bombay, Madras and Bengal, they start company controlled. What that means is their loot tokens start face down and in the respective presidency. The other loot tokens, they're going to start face up, okay, with their numbers showing, the pound numbers, and put them in their respective regions. The elephant's going in here from Mysore, looking at Madras, and this is going to be really significant. Madras is at risk right from the off, and with Bombay adjacent, there's a good chance if Madras is conquered, they'll head over to Bombay as well. So you will see in 1813, it's not uncommon for the company to kind of crash early on because of these rebellions. There are 2 regiments in each army, and we're going to need them because of this threat, and also a company ship in each sea zone. I think that's about it. That's all I really wanted to show you. I'm going to set the map up, and you'll notice because we've got the Governor General in play, these governor overlays are not here on the map. Right? Those are controlled by the company, but there's no regional governor. Another significant thing to point out in this scenario, Bengal's home port is closed. We've got one closed order. It's not their home port, but there's one closed order here in Madras, but we've got a trade route up into Hyderabad. Right, let's get going because I want to talk to you about firms. So let's start with the setup cards. Put the extras aside. We need the 12 basic ones. Now, because I want to show you private firms, what I'm actually going to do is just go and grab this. Rather than have a draft, I'm just going to grab the private firm one for me, and I'm going to deal the rest out randomly. In 1813, I really highly recommend doing the draft randomly. The other thing I recommend in playing 1813 solo is remember these penalties. So if the company fails in turn 5, it's -4. I kind of recommend, once you're familiar with the game and you're looking for a tougher challenge, multiply these up. Multiply these penalties up. So if you've got expert mode down, go through easy, normal, hard, expert, and if you want a tougher challenge, multiply these penalties up. So do ×2, ×3. All right, so times 3 penalty would be a -12 points if the company fails in turn 5. All right, that kind of stuff. So there's easy ways, really easy ways to scale up 1813 playing solo. Just multiply those penalties up, or you just set yourself challenges. Right, I want to succeed without the company failing, because company failure can be a little bit more swingy because of those shares and the way that you can easily distribute stuff during the draft. So I'm going to do it randomly. I'm taking private firm. We're going to obviously take 3 others at random, and then the crown gets 8 at random. So what about that private firm? It says create a private firm. So to create a private firm, you flip over your player board, and this is where Sykes and Co. This is their private firm charter. Remember, this is your opportunity token. We don't start anywhere with this at the beginning. I'm going to talk to you about these things as we head into the different phases, but all you need to do to set up your firm, place a marker here at the firm value. So our firm is valued at let's call it pounds, £1 for the start of the game. It says we get 1 share, so we take one of our family members and place it in this shares box. At the moment, our firm is valued at just £1, which means we would get -1 victory point for every share in our firm. So it's a crappy old firm. It's actually going to lose us victory points. But if we can increase the value of our firm, then potentially you can get all the way up to 2 victory points per share, and there's a maximum of 10 shares in here. It might not just be our shares in here, it can be other players or the Crown's family members in here having shares as well. And it also says it starts with £8 in its treasury. It means the London treasury. So like the company has its own company balance, our private firms have a balance too, right, back in London. The money that we've pulled out of this firm back to London. So what we're going to do with this firm is, as well as the company trading in India, we've got our private firm trading in India. So the East India Company's lost its monopoly. Private firms can trade as well. What this means is there's another revenue stream for us as individuals, as players. Not only are we looking at taking offices and pulling money out of India, out of the East India Company That way, there's an opportunity here for us to trade our private firm with our own little ships alongside the main company, pull money out of India, put it in the India treasury, pay dividends to shareholders, which basically means we get another way of pulling money out, as well as potentially another way of earning victory points and losing victory points. Because if the private firm fails, all our shareholders go to debtor's prison. Okay? A private firm will fail if it can't pay its expenses. And expenses are going to be equal to the value of the firm plus the number of ships we've got, right? Or the number of shares. So it's actually whichever is higher of these two. But just know expenses are value of the firm and shares plus number of ships. We pay those expenses from money that we pulled out of trade. If we can't fill our expenses, all our shareholders go to the debtor's prison. That could be ours, it could be other players as well, remember, and they score -1 victory point. So there's the risk, there's the benefit. Okay, cool. It's not really a hedge against the company because we need the company to continue to succeed. Remember, the game ends when the company, East India Company fails, or if the East India Company fails. And if the East India Company fails early, before we've had a chance to increase the value of our firm, our private firm, then this thing's losing us points. All right. And it's only once we start getting up here that the private firm starts paying off in terms of victory points. Like I say, it's not really a hedge against, but we are competing with the East India Company, and I'll show you that when we get to trade. Let's finish setup. So there we go. That's the private firm done. Okay. Now, incidentally, if this setup card gets dealt to the crown can't start a private firm, will never start a private firm, will never take over a private firm, but may invest in your private firm. Okay. But if the crown is dealt this, they just take £3 instead. Okay. So you can see that during setup, a private firm is not valued that highly, just £3. Okay. Right. I'm going to finish setting up. So what else did we get? We got the writer in Bengal. Over there. We've got an officer in the army of Bengal, which is cool. We know that Bengal's closed. We probably want to open that up in order to help my writer, and my officer can help. We are commander of the army of Bombay. We have a writer in the Bombay presidency. We have a shipyard, and we're going to place it in the west. We've got the Union, and we've got £4 in our family treasury. We are the president of Madras. We have a share. We are commander of the army of Bengal. Lovely. And we've got £3. And then finally, we are Prime Minister. I'll take this dial, and we have to set this to 1813, that spot. We've got a random blackmail card. So I'll take one of these. So there'll be a blackmail on top. And then we place a ship in the West Indian Ocean. So we've got 2 ships in the west. This time our shipyard is Diligence. Okay. Right. Crown gets the rest, and that includes the Superintendent of Trade in China, which gets 1 company ship. Right. So there's 1 company ship in every sea, but also 1 in China. Okay. Right. I'll go ahead and set the rest up for the crown. Okay, all done. Excellent. Now, if you want to play on expert, deal 3 more extra setup cards to the crown. And again, if you want to vary the difficulty, you can increase or decrease the number of these extra setup cards given to the crown. Right, so it's your game. Vary it up and do what you want there. Right, we're done with setup. Chairman is the Crown. I'm just going to give these a shuffle. Split. 2 or 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, Foundry's come out. Foundry is useful. Each time any player purchases a workshop or regiment, you take £1 from the bank. And remember, we've got Calico Axe in play, which means you get an extra workshop during family phase. You've got to pay for it, of course. And also we've got Governor General, which means they can be adding regiments. So Foundry can be useful. Right, we're done with setup card. We do want to set the Crown's initial climate. Company debt is 0. So he's starting off as Stag. Okay. So Crown's going to be pro company to start us off, which is good. Hopefully they'll carry the company for the first turn or two. Let's see what happens. Right, London season skipped. We're going to go straight into family phase. Crown's going first because they're chairman. So we're just going to play a regular game and then we'll cover the firm rules when we get there, which is not very far away because straight after family phase is the firm phase. And then we can talk about exactly what these things mean. Now, I happen to have printed out my own version and laminated the Crown handbook because it does take a bit of a battering otherwise. And the Calico Axe is in play, so taking a workshop is free. But they're going to start with buying a share. So they're going to pay £2. Place a share. Next, I'm going to place a writer. And they want to place writers in Crown presidencies with the fewest Crown writers. So either Bombay or Bengal. We need the AI card to break the tie. First is Bengal. So writer in Bengal. Now they get their free action from Calico, which will be to buy a workshop. So they're going to spend £5. They've got the money. And they're going to buy an extra workshop. Now they've already got 4 workshops. So they're hedging strongly against company success. We've got to look out for that. But also, they've got a means into our company. You can create shares in companies in 2 ways. You can take a share from the court of directors and place it in a private firm. Or you can invest a workshop, and that means flipping it over. Okay. If you invest a workshop, it loses its £1 bonus, and it also loses its 1 victory point on company failure. Right, but it keeps its 2 votes. So those are the 2 ways into a firm. So yeah, she's got some ways into my firm if she needs them. Well, she's got an excess of shares as well. So if we're going to use our firm profitably, we need an edge here, because she's going to just keep wanting to put her shares in and kind of equalize and neutralize our advantage. But we can keep her out. And at the moment, as long as she's bullish or Stag, she won't want to invest in our company anyway, unless we want her to. She'll only really invest in our company if she's Lion, Bear, or Peacock. So if we can keep the company nice and positive, keep her mood positive about the company, then she's going to kind of ignore us and we can get on and do our thing. Right? But look out for, if the company starts to look a little bit flaky, or Crown decides she's going to go bearish and Peacock, then that's when she'll start to use her workshops and her shares and pull out of the company and into our private firm and try and kind of neutralize our advantage. So that's what we're looking at. And that's why I say sometimes if you can get the company to fail right really quickly on 1813, you can pull out a victory. But you are, of course, at the mercy of company failure cards. And you don't want to be at the mercy of these cards because they can be really swinging. So you're never sure. If you fail the company early on, you don't really know if you're going to win or lose. It's a bit of a coin toss unless you've mitigated for all those company failures. And you need time to do that. And that's why you really need to push on through those early turns. Otherwise, you're not playing clever. Okay, so she's taken her 2 plus a free action. I've got £7, so I can take that free workshop as well. But I'm also keen on taking a shipyard. So I'm going to pay £2. grab myself a shipyard, which of course starts unfitted. We've got the Samaritan. Right, so it costs £2. And then because of Calico Axe, I could spend my remaining £5 and buy a workshop, which I'm going to do. So again, we've got a way of getting into a company now, which is via a workshop if we wish. I should note, during setup, there's 2 setup cards that hand out victory points, and they got both of them, so they're already 4 victory points ahead. Okay, company shares, this is shuffling up to the £5 spot. There's no company debt, so it's not moving into the court of directors. They're going to have to wait another turn before their family member on the stock exchange becomes a share. Right, firms phase. Right, this is what you came for. Down here on the player board, there's a little bit of player aid that tells you basically what to look out for when you're running a private firm. There's 2 phases where it's important. Firms phase, where we are now, and then trading, okay, when a presidency trades. So during firm phase, it says we can fit ships, receive investments, and merge. We're not going to be doing merging during the solo game. It can happen obviously in the 2-player game. And then the important part here, at the end of the firm phase, we set our strategy and bid. Okay, and that's where we use these cards here. Right, we'll come to that when we get there. But for now, it says we can fit ships and receive investments. When we trade, we're going to pick a sea, west, south, or east. And we're going to trade in that region, in that sea, just like the company does. You remember, the number of orders that you can fill is capped by the number of ships you have. Same for a private firm. However, you need at least 1 ship. I don't have any ships right now, so I can't trade. I need a ship. This is where we get to fit ships here. We can't buy company ships, and we can't buy extra ships. We can only fit ships here from shipyards or ships that are out here leased to the East India Company. Right, so there's 2 options. If it's one of our ships, on our shipyard, like the Samaritan here, we just pay the money, which is £3. Okay, it's £3 to fit the ship, which is exactly the same as what the manager of shipping pays to fit the ship. Right, so £3, but instead of fitting it off in one of these oceans or in China, we place it here on our firm board. That £3 comes from our private firm's London Treasury. Okay, this is money that we can invest in our firm effectively, right, in ships for our firm. If we fit a ship from a shipyard, that money goes to the bank. If we, sorry, I forgot to put military affairs in there. If we buy back a ship from the company, that £3 will go to the manager of shipping instead. It will go in this office. So at the moment, we've got the Diligence and the Union out here in the West Indian Sea. We could, if we wanted, pay the £3 to buy this ship back, put it here, and the £3 would go here instead of the bank. All right. If we wanted, we could also buy back or fit one of the Crown's ships or another player's ships in a 2-player game. But we need their consent. The Crown will give consent, but it's going to cost us 2 promise cubes, okay, to fit the Crown's ship or to buy back a Crown-owned ship from the company. I don't want to spend my promise cubes just yet. I've got the Samaritan here. We'll just fit that over here. So now we can trade. Now I could do this again. I could potentially buy back. Cost me another £3 of London Treasury money, but I've only got 5 in here. If I spend 3, I'll only have 2 left. And why is that important? Remember, when a president trades, it uses its money. Oh, I forgot to give everyone their starting balance, didn't I? It's £3 in each treasury. So yeah, remember when a president trades, they spend money from their treasury, so they got £3 here, so they get to roll 3 dice, and they're looking for a success from 3 dice to see whether they successfully trade or not. Same for private firms. At the moment, I've got £5 here. I could commit that £5 to my private firm's trade. I'd roll 5 dice looking for 1 success. If I spend 3, I'll only have £2 left. I'll only have 2 dice to see whether I successfully trade or not. Now remember, I have to pay my expenses with the money that I earn from trade. At the moment, my expenses are going to be whichever is higher, the value of my company or the number of shares, so 1, plus the number of ships, 2. So I only need £2 in expenses, but if I spend 3 on a ship, that would then become £3. I've got then £2 to spend on a roll. I've got no pounds left. I'm making a 2-die roll for success, and I need a success, otherwise I can't pay my expenses. So it's really a bit of a risk, I think, to spend more money in more ships. But there is a way to get more money at this stage, because during the firm phase, remember, you can fit ships, you can also receive investments. We can put shares in here. If I put shares in here, then I get more money. Cool, right, so let's do two things. Let's buy that extra ship. Buying the extra ship means we can trade in more regions, gives us more money, okay? So if we put £3 in now to a ship, we're potentially getting £3 back if we trade. Yeah. It could be less, it could be less. We have to, we'll come to that in a bit, because we have to pick one of these regions to trade in, and we're competing against the company. So there's a chance we might not get as much money. So for example, if we traded in the south, that third ship might only get us £2. I say third because when you trade, it says you fill orders equal to ships plus 1. So we've got 1 ship, so at the moment we can fill 2 orders. If we put another ship in here, we can fill 3 orders. Fill orders, grab the money. Remember, money is equal to the value of these orders that we're filling. Goes into our India treasury. We can use that money to pay expenses and also dividends that comes into our personal treasury. Right, so yeah, there really is an extra layer of complexity. It's not difficult. This stuff is pretty simple, but it's just an extra strain on your brain as a player when you're trying to figure out what's what. So let's do so we could either pay 2 promise cubes and grab one of their ships, or we could pay £3, just grab back one of ours. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to pay £3 from my firm's London treasury. And let's change this for 5, 2, 4, 5 from the bank. Right. So we've got £5, £5. We're going to pay 3 of it, we'll do 2 here, into the manager of shipping. So that becomes available for the company to now invest in new ships. Or if I wanted to take the Lady Flora here, that would just go off to the bank. But I'll obviously have to pay promise cubes to take this, 2 of them. But I can take one of my own ships, so I'm going to take the Diligence, and we'll stick that in our private firm. Okay, paid the £3, we've bought the ship back, all good. Now, I'm in a dodgy position. I've only got £2 for my trade roll. Ugh, I don't like that, it's too risky. I mean, you could risk it, but yeah, I don't think I will. So I need an investment in here, and that will give me more money. Every share that gets invested into your private firm will add £5 to your London treasury. Now, I could do that investment myself, or I could ask the Crown to do it. At the moment, the Crown is stag and will not invest. I can ask it to invest. We'll invest in your firm for 1 investment, again for 2 promise cubes. Or I could do it myself. And remember, there's 2 ways to invest. You can pull a share from the court of directors into your company. You can only do this if shares are strong. If I look up here on the company standing and company debt track, if either of these markers are in one of these shaded spots, then company shares are weak and I can't use them to invest in a private firm, right? So both of these have to be on these blank spaces, which they are at the beginning of the game. As it goes, I don't really want to invest this share just yet. I want to keep a little foothold in the court of directors. It's not much of one, but it is something. The other thing I can do is invest a workshop, like I said. So I could flip this now. I'm going to lose the income it's giving me, but I could just flip that and then place a family member from my supply up here as an invested workshop, creating a share. Or like I said, I can pay 2 promise cubes and make her do it. But if I make her do it, then she's got a share in my company, and when my my private firm, and when my private firm pays dividends, it's going to be one to me and one to her. Well, I don't want that. So at the moment, it's just me in here owning this firm. All the dividends are going to come to me. So that's the benefit of this. Okay? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to invest my workshop, add a share, and every time private firm receives investment, you add £5 from the bank to the London Treasury. So £5 up here. Now that's looking a bit more healthy. 5, 6, 7. I've got £7 here now. So if I put another ship in here, I'd have £4 left to put to my trade bid, right? The number of dice I roll when I trade. I think what I'd rather do is just hedge against failure a little bit. I've got £7 in here. Let's just swap that 5 for 2 2s and a 1. I think I'm just going to keep that all here in my treasury. And now that we've finished buying ships and doing investments. We know the Crown's not interested. At the end of the firm phase, you set your strategy and bid. So I'm going to bid 4. That says how many dice will I roll when it comes to trading. I can't change this. This is set, and I have to decide now. And this is really cool. You have to kind of predict what you think, how much risk you want to take, all that kind of stuff. So I'm willing to spend 4. I'm going to keep £3 back in case it all fails. 4 means I'm going to roll 4 dice. I'm looking for a success of those. Okay, and that happens at this stage when we're trading. Okay. All right, so we've set our bid, but now we have to set our strategy, and that's what these cards are for. There's 4 strategies. You can sail in the south, sail in the west, sail in the east, or not sail at all. Hobnob. Okay, but we do want to sail, we do want to trade. But where do we want to choose? The south, the west? Well, I'm tempted by the south, but let's have a look. When it comes to trading, what's going to happen is, remember, each president acts in turn, right? Bombay goes first, then Madras, then Bengal. The president, I'm president of Madras, by the way. The president decides how much money they're going to invest in their die roll, how many orders they're going to try and fill with their ships. Now, at the moment, the company's looking to fill 2 orders in Bombay. Madras has got 2 ships, so possibly here and here. Bengal is closed. So Bengal's not going anywhere unless they can open that order, which needs the army of Bengal, which is me. Okay, I'm the commander here. So I can decide. Let's say they do. Let's say we invade, we open that order, Bengal is open, they can trade there. Let's say they've got 3 ships over there. Okay, 3 ships over there. And let's say they roll 4 dice, they get 2 successes. At the same time, I reveal, let's say I said my firm strategy to East. I'll reveal the East as my firm strategy. I've got £4, I'm rolling 4 dice. Okay. I've got 1 success. Okay. What we do then is determine initiative. Who gets to trade first? You take the number of ships sailing minus the number of successes, and that gives you a value. They have 3 ships minus 2 successes. They have an initiative of 1. I have 2 ships. Okay, all right, I'm filling 3 orders, but I only have 2 ships. 2 ships minus 1 success gives me an initiative of 1. So we're still tied. In the case of the tie, the president gets it. Okay, so in Bengal, the Crown's president, so the Crown would go first. So the more dice you roll, the more successes you get, chances are you have a lower initiative. But the more ships you throw at it, the more ships you have, the higher your initiative, right? A bigger fleet is a little bit slower perhaps. The higher initiative you have, the chances are you'll go last, all right? But the more orders you'll fill. Why is this important? Because when you fill orders, you'll notice every order has 2 numbers. This is the amount of money that will be taken from that order, for filling that order, £5, but only by the person who goes first. Whoever goes second will get a lower number, in this case £2, right? It's actually half rounded down. So going first gets you more money. If you're coming along behind, you're not making as much money. we'll see that happen when we get to the presidential operations. And why am I telling you all this now? Because we've got to decide where we're going to try and trade, west, south, or east. If we think the company's not going to succeed in a particular sea, then we know for sure if they're not trading, then we're going to go first. We're going to get more money. So Madras might be a good choice, where we're president. It means we break the ties, and also we get to decide maybe we don't want to trade. We'll see how much money comes in there. So I might just go for the south. They've only got 2 ships there for sure, but we're potentially getting, with our 3, 12 and 14 here, and if this gets opened it could be even more. So there we are. I'm going to set my firm strategy to south. Now in a multiplayer game you would keep this hidden, face down, and you only reveal it when we get to Madras and you go, ah, yep, I'm going to trade there, and then you turn it flip face up and go, yes, I was trading in the south. Okay, but obviously in a solo game we can keep it face up because that's what we're doing. We don't need to keep that secret from anybody. I don't think the crown is peeping. One last thing to say. When we earn money, let's say we do get £14 from trading in the south and we fulfill 3 orders. Remember, 2 plus 1, number of ships plus 1. Let's say this is a successful roll. We fill, we get £14. At that point, we get £14. It goes in here and it says increase the value of your firm by 1 for each £6 added. So if we get £14, the firm value would go up to, then we're having to pay more expenses, right? Because the firm value is 3. 3 is higher than 2 shares. So 3 plus the number of ships 2, we'll have to pay £5 in expenses. But that's okay because we have 14 here. We've got 3 stuck back here in reserve. We've got plenty of money to cover that 5. The rest can get paid out in dividends. The other thing is, as this moves up, so as our company becomes more successful, each share in our company is now worth half a victory point. So that's now worth 1 victory point at the end of the game. It doesn't sound like a great deal right now, but as our firm gets bigger and bigger, more and more points. Right? Well, as it goes, at the moment, my expenses will be 1, 2, plus whichever is highest of those 4. I've only got 3, so what I want to do is that. So I'm rolling 3 dice, not as good as 4 dice for sure, but if it does fail, at least I've got expenses covered. I mean, that's the trade-off. If I wanted to, I could put all this money in and then kind of try and guarantee my success. If I win, then I win, and we trade well. But if I succeed with just 3 dice, I've still got 4 extra pounds there in the bank for covering expenses. That's what we'll do, and that'll be nice. We'll see how that turns out. Okay, oops. There shouldn't be money there. Should not be money there. Yep. Okay. All right, that's it. That's the firm phase done. So now we're into hiring, nothing to hire. We're into chairman as usual. Crown's chairman, which means we flip a new AI card, set a new climate potentially. And it's based on presidencies with 2 or more crown writers. There are none, so they're running to Peacock. They've done a little flipperoo on us. So when it comes to debt, now that they're Peacock, they're not advancing debts. All right, that makes things interesting. I think that's okay. I don't know if I want them to. They probably won't trade so much. Governor General is going to bring in a lot of money anyway, so I think the company should be fine. Let's see how it goes. Allocating company balance then. So they want to give £5 to each presidency where Crown is commander or has majority of officers. So that's £5 to Madras. They want to give all the money to Madras. That's my presidency. All right. Feel free. So they're going to stick all the money in Madras, which is where I'm sailing with my private firm. Okay. Governor General. Crown is Governor General. And first, they're going to increase the company balance by £3 for each company-controlled region. There's 3. And then they can take the govern action. And they're going to roll dice depending how many pounds they spend. Okay. So £3 per region, 3 is 9. So company balance goes up to 9. They've got £3. Peacock wants to spend just 2. I can increase or decrease this by using a promise cube, which I think I'm going to do actually. Let's. It's a shame they went Peacock. I kind of want things to be a little better than that. I'd like the govern action to succeed. Just checking the AI card. They're going to give priority to Madras. They're going to continue to load up Madras. So let's have them spend all £3 and roll 3 dice. Okay. We're looking for a success. Okay, they got their success. Unfortunately, they got a 6 along with it. Governor General, die roll, and after a success, you may not govern again this turn. That's fine. So if we did fail and there was more money, we could keep trying it. But we add an unrest in each EEC region for each 6 rolled. So there's 3 EEC regions. That means company-controlled regions. We're adding 3 unrest. That's not so good. So a bit of a double-edged sword that time. I like to place these here next to the company control icon, where the towers would normally go. But we do have our success, and in the event of success, the Crown, it says you gain £1 per EEC region. So the Crown gains £3. And then for each EEC region, so 3 times, they can tax, raise a regiment, or build a company ship. Now, the thing with Governor is, although we're doing this 3 times, it doesn't have to be in the regions where these EIC controlled regions are, right? It doesn't have to be in those presidencies. So we're building 3 regiments, but it doesn't have to be one in Bombay, one in Madras, one in Bengal. In fact, they will all go to whatever the Crown's preference is, which we already know from the AI card is Madras. So they want to put 3 regiments in Madras, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because this is where the threat is. That's where the elephant is pointing. So the Crown's doing a good job at the moment, just keeping things, despite switching to Peacock, just keeping things nice and steady, addressing that threat. And that's where their commander, they're making the right choices so far. But it's a delicate balance, because if I can trade and then the company fails, I may actually just eke out a victory on turn 1, aside from the fact that the company failure card can come in. I mean, and this is the thing. With this game, you can eke out a victory. If you think if you calculate it out, I mean, let's see, I'll lose 4 points for the company failing on the first turn, so I'm 8 points behind, but they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shares, minus 10. I've got minus 2, so that pulls that back 8. We're actually level right now. I might get one for my private firm. Oh no, they've got their 4 workshops. I might win the power award. I've got PM. I've got my blackmail card, which I've not shown you actually. This is any time on a turn before the events in India, move the elephant to any legal position and then take pounds equal to the highest open order in the region within the elephant's tail. I ought to be playing this really, to move that elephant. Think about that, Ricky. So it doesn't give me power actually. So they've got 2 trophies. I've got the PM ship, which is worth 2 power. So we're actually equal on power. Yeah, they will actually win because of shares, because shares, they've got 1 power per share. So, right, in the moment, if the company failed, they would win. They would win. Okay, subject to company failure. But even if we manage to just grab a couple of extra victory points and be the person in front, you need to be far enough up in front that the company failure thing is not going to swing it. And the biggest swinger, really, would be court of directors blameless, which at the moment would actually just net them a huge, huge victory. And that's the thing about company failure. You don't want the company to fail unless you know or you think the odds are with you on that company failure card. And that's where it's all about trying to eke out a big enough margin that you can afford for the company to fail and still win. So for all those people concerned about the randomness of company failure, at the end of the day, in a cooperative game, if you're playing this multiplayer, you're trying to get the company to succeed. And if the company fails, there is a little bit of a lottery, and it's the person that's most successfully mitigated for whatever company failure event is going to come up. And remember, there is a section on your player aid, it's on the reverse side, that does warn you about which factors about the company, shipyards, workshops, and so on, shares, are likely to influence whether you win or lose on company failure. If the company fails and nobody's got a big enough advantage, well, someone's got to win. It is a bit of a lottery, and that's why you should always try and go for company success if you can, unless you feel, like I say, failure is to your advantage. Right now, it's not to my advantage. I need this company to survive. So does the Crown. Crown's doing okay, keeping things afloat.